there, Tara Meyer-Robson here. One of the things that I notice is that by far, the people that come to me for help with their mind-body healing, with translating what's going on in their body and understanding the message the body is trying to send them, they are by and large empaths, and certainly on the empathic scale, if not all the way into like the heavier level of empath. And so I wanted to do a quick video about why we as empaths tend to get sick or feel sick more often than the sort of non-empath average person. So one of the main reasons that we get sick is because we are literally connecting with and soaking in other people's emotions all the time. And the work I literally do is on how the emotions translate and turn into various pains and diseases in various parts of our bodies. And they can manifest in all different kinds of ways. So when you're an empath and you're walking around sort of open and you're just connecting with people, especially particularly people that are quite close to you, you are going to be absorbing their emotions. Now, if you happen to also be a more like I am, a physical empath, which means that you're actually able to feel the physical, what's physically going on with another person, then it's very likely you may be actually starting to soak in that other person's pain or disease. And an example is many years ago, I was dating a guy and he had really, really bad, severe ear infections since he was a child. He was still having those ear infections when we were dating. I had not had an ear infection in my whole life, to my knowledge. Now I could ask my mom, but I don't think I ever did. And so I all of a sudden started to get ear infections all the time, which seemed extremely strange to me until I realized that I was actually connecting with and pulling into my body what he was experiencing. I was mimicking it. And that takes me to like kind of the next reason that empaths get sick. We can be actually mirroring what's going on with another individual. And by what I mean by that is, if you've ever gone to lunch, let's say with your best friend or with your mom, and you started to get a headache or a stomach ache or back pain, and it just seemed really strange. It was like, where was this coming from? You weren't feeling stressed. You weren't starting to get a headache or back pain or whatever before the lunch. And then all of a sudden, when you walk away from that person, when you leave that person, that headache, that back pain, that stomach ache, whatever it might be, could be anything, suddenly goes away. And what has happened in that particular situation is you literally are mirroring that person's experience. You're experiencing in your body, in that temporary place, anything that other person is feeling at that moment in time. So a lot of times we'll think that we're actually sick, or we have a headache, or we have depression. You can absolutely soak in depression. You can definitely soak in anxiety. We can definitely soak in sadness, any of those things. You may feel depressed, anxious, and sad, but in fact, it might not actually be you. It may be that you're actually mirroring what's going on with that other person. Now, thankfully, scientists are now showing that there is very much something called mirror neurons, and those mirror neurons are literally essentially, when we are around somebody who's experiencing pain, we see something happen to someone else, the mirror neurons literally mirror in ourselves that pain. Sometimes empaths can actually feel, those mirror neurons can be so strong that you can actually feel that other person's pain. And I believe strongly that from like a scientific perspective, I think that's what's going on with empaths when we are feeling that kind of stuff. And then when we remove ourselves, we are not feeling it. Which brings me to my next point. Another reason that we get sick is because if we are in fact open all the time and sort of unaware that we're empaths, we are soaking in literally every bit of emotion in the entire universe. And I like to say this as if you can imagine if you were sitting wherever you're sitting right now and somebody brought in 400,000 different speakers and they were all playing 400,000 different kinds of talk radio and music and whatever, it would be, in a very short time, it would be very, very overwhelming, especially like, let's say you had some static channels thrown in there. It would be exhausting and overwhelming. Now, of course, because you would be very conscious that that's what's happening, you would just simply get up and be like, all right, get these speakers out of here. This is insane. Unfortunately, what happens is we as empaths sort of come into the world and we have all these great skills that definitely feel like a curse for a long time in being able to sense all this stuff. Unfortunately, we don't also come with a download that makes us conscious that we're empaths and that's what's happening, that we're soaking all this stuff in. So the problem is it's as if somebody put blindfolds on you and threw you in that room and all those speakers are at you, are pointed at you, and you know a lot of stuff is happening, but you can't tell where it's coming from or what's happening exactly. That's essentially, when you're sort of an unaware empath, that's essentially what's happening for you. And so the ability to sort of be able to start to pull that back, literally pull the cords of all of those speakers that you're connected to all the time, or indeed other people oftentimes, because our energy tends to be one of helping, one of giving, one of wanting people to have better lives and to make a difference in this world. That positive energy can also make us a real target for people, like, as I call them, energetic vampires, who will sort of plug into us as if we're an outlet in the wall. And if we're unaware that those things are going on, we're soaking all of that in. I truly believe this is why many, many, many empaths that I have personally worked with will come to me and they will have been diagnosed with all manner of mental disorder, from bipolar disease to anxiety to depression to generalized anxiety disorder to, whatever else. And while certainly you absolutely can have an actual mental disorder that needs that kind of assistance, I have seen so many empaths that are misdiagnosed. And I believe it's because you don't know that you're open, so you just are soaking in all of this sadness. If you happen to be a young person, and I know I have some young people that are still at home that are subscribed to the channel, if you are stuck in a family with a lot of trauma, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of stress, you are soaking that in all the time. So it makes reasonable sense that if anybody, it doesn't matter, if anybody was soaking all that in all the time, you would end up very overwhelmed, very depressed, very anxious, very freaked out. And so the final reason that we get sick is that because we are not necessarily aware of that, we also don't end up having boundaries. And those healthy boundaries can be very, very hard. They're hard enough for like an average person to set healthy boundaries, especially if you grew up in any kind of a dysfunctional family, and a lot of us did. Then it can be very, very difficult. But as an empath, it's even more difficult. And I have a video about that I think I just did, about the fact that basically because we are feeling another person's need, we're feeling another person's pain, when people come to us and they want us to help, to save, to figure all this stuff out for them, even if they're doing nothing to help themselves, then of course, it's even harder for us to say no because we can feel in our own bodies their pain. So it's easier to say yes, even if we're exhausted, because at some level, it's a relief to feel like we're taking away that person's need, that person's pain. So on top of our own exhaustion, we're also feeling their need and their pain. And that can make it very difficult to set healthy boundaries. For that, I definitely recommend doing one of the shield exercises that I have on my YouTube channel here. You can also check out my website at Meyer-Robson.com. If you feel like you're an empath and you're not sure how much it's actually impacting you or how overwhelmed you might be by your empathic abilities, please check out my Empath Test. I'll put the link down below, and consider hopping into my Empath Institute. In there, I'm giving you every tool, every resource, and some live coaching to allow you to be able to be healthy and empowered, and basically go from exhausted to empowered, and being able to use these as gifts instead of a curse. Thank you so much. If you liked this, please like, please subscribe, and please share. See you next time.